Hi, I'm Karceno.
Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
No one knows Karceno and none of these.
There's so much going on in the world, and I'm just giving my 2 cents on it. Go in and do a raid at someone's house, but you don't have an arrest warrant for them. Once again, what's up? It's your boy Karceno here, and finally, I'm talking about this. I wanted to get this off my chest and talk about it so much, but I had so much going on with news that was popping up that was more important at the time, but I didn't forget it. Now, I wanted to talk about this. Now, we will address this because there's a lot of tropes that's going on here. Because this is a great teachable and learnable moment for everyone out there of what not to do. Okay, and right and wrong and morals. Now, everybody knows that I view Stephen A. Smith to be a weasel. I look at him as a spineless man who's playing the black man's shtick. And he's been running with that wave of, oh, it's your boy. It's your homeboy. Yeah, he's a con man, as he said in his own book. He couldn't even read. He suffered from dyslexia before he even knew what it was. And he used to con everybody. He used to go and con and make people believe he was smart when he just couldn't comprehend. He just couldn't get it. Now, all that people thinking he was dumb made him look down on people. Right? And this is not a tear down for Stephen A. Smith. This is basically my thoughts on what happened. But I'm just giving you a basis of what he is because it's going to play a lot into what's going to happen and what's going on right now with him. Stephen A. Smith went on Sean Hannity's show. He went straight on Hannity. Made his appearance on Fox News show with Sean Hannity. Now, he had been on MSNBC. He had been on CNN before, right? But the subject of Donald Trump and the hush money criminal trial in New York came up. And Stephen A. Smith cried that the trial was a political strategy by Democrats. But what's really got him in the hot water is that he talked about Black Americans can identify with what Trump is going on through based on being discriminated against by a justice system in America. And he says, as much as people may have been abhorred by Donald Trump's statement weeks ago, talking about how Black folks, he's hearing that Black folks find him relatable because of what he's going through is similar to what Black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. When you see the law enforcement, the court systems, and everything else being exercised against him, it is something that Black folks throughout this nation can relate to with some of our historic, iconic figures. We've seen that happen throughout society. Now, when they said relatable, the NAACP came out and attacked Stephen A. Smith. Said relatable. Anyone in your Black family, Stephen A. Smith, have 88 felony charges pending? Filed for bankruptcy 6 times? made an attempt to overthrow a presidential election and our democracy and still have the ability to fall asleep in court and dream of being president of the United States of America? Everybody's been roasting him on Twitter. When Trayvon Martin passed away, Stephen A. Smith implied that maybe young black kids shouldn't be wearing hoodies. When Dana White hit his wife on camera, Stephen A. basically apologized for having to cover it. And people are shocked. He's on Hannity? Stephen A. is one of those people who promotes like they're Democrats and push Democratic agenda, but live in Republican conservative neighborhoods and really support conservative Republicans. They just got to play like they don't like them on TV. As Hannity got him to admit that they're friends. Clay Travis, you're friends with him. You come on his show and he talks about your colleagues that you supposedly got all this love for. And he's always attacking them. But you got love for them and you were mentoring these people. And you didn't stand up for them to your friend. Then what type of friendship is it? You apologize for having to cover Dana White at all. Then started to suggest of alcohol, the consumption of alcohol. I'm not using it as an excuse, but there was a lot of alcohol there. What does that mean? So he must have been drunk. So yeah, I could see how he let a couple fly. Already preparing an excuse for Dana White. Now, this time, Stephen A. pissed off the people that really support him. You know, this is the HBCU guy, right? So that's the NAACP. These people give him his award to show, prove he's one of those black men that stand out. But now you one of those who bow down. They realize you're Toby. Then he started to get the backlash, right? But before it hit the mainstream, he had went and answered on his show. And this is what he had to say on the show.
Quote, cowards, end quote, for attempting to use lawfare against Donald Trump. I addressed the issue Monday when jury selection began in the Stormy Daniels hush money criminal trial in New York City. I don't recall using the word cowards. I don't recall being incendiary in that regard. I have called the Democrats an embarrassment. I have said there's no excuse for not being able to find someone other than a soon-to-be 82-year-old incumbent to compete against Trump. I have said it's pretty damn pathetic that a person that's been indicted, okay, with 4 charges, 91 counts, impeached twice, is somebody that you still can't touch, that you're engaging in lawfare because you can't beat them. I do recall saying that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be very, very clear so everybody understands where I'm coming from. I meant that shit. I meant every word. Now, again, I don't have to call you a coward, but do I think you're scared? Yeah, you look scared.
Now, he went from, I meant that it. Look at him. He's big and bold. Big, bold, and bad. Big bad JoJo coming into town. That was the day it was going on. It aired. That's how he felt. He didn't care until it was time to care. When those people are your lifeline and your backbone. everybody get to see you exposed. You didn't know it was going to get that big. Then it did. Then your whole tune changed.
And I'm fully aware of the outcry that has ensued because of it. A lot of folks in Black America seem pretty pissed at me right now, from friends and loved ones to colleagues, contemporaries, and dare I say, even the NAACP itself. Quite a few folks were put off, if not flat out offended, after my words were interpreted as associating support for Trump from the Black community with all the legal issues he's facing. For that, I sincerely apologize. To be clear, my words were misconstrued. I'm stating right here for the record that my words were taken out of context, misrepresenting and depicting me in a way I found every bit as insulting and disrespectful as folks in Black America evidently felt about what they thought I said.
What you thought you said, misconstrued. Now, I'm not a genius. I'm not a scholar. But the man said his words was misconstrued when he boldly made a video, came public, sat up here, and boldly stated, boldly made a statement saying, I meant that it. You double down. See, people are going back to your original statement, which is really where they should go. What part was misconstrued? What they think you said? And no, people are going by what you actually said. You said hearing that Black folks find him relatable because of what he's going through is similar to what Black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. When you see the law and law enforcement, the court system, and everything else being exercised against him, if it's something that Black folks throughout this nation can relate to with some of our historic iconic figures, we've seen that happen throughout society. You have said this in 4K. They got it in translated in Spanish, English, Japanese, French, Chinese. You said it out your mouth. They got it on video. They got it broken down. What are you talking about? What part was taken out of context? Because you were wrong. Everybody on Twitter was letting you know where you were wrong at. Now, if all these Black folks can see it, no Black man and a white man will ever be relatable when it comes to this injustice in society. Black people were persecuted. Donald Trump is being prosecuted. There's a difference, Stephen A. There's a major difference. Just say, I was wrong. But to say your words was taken out of context, well, people would believe that if you didn't double down on it. You see, you doubled down on it early. You came right out there and said, I meant that it. Big, bad, and bold. Couldn't wait to jump out there and said, oh, I meant that it. Say, let's listen to it again.
Indicted, okay, with 4 charges, 91 counts. Impeached twice is somebody that you still can't touch, that you're engaging in lawfare because you can't beat them. I do recall saying that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be very, very clear so everybody understands where I'm coming from. I meant that shit. I meant every word. Now, again, I don't have to call you a coward, but do I think you're scared? Yeah, you look scared. You look like you are depending on the courts to beat him because you can't. You can't. He's just storming ahead. Meanwhile, Biden's losing momentum. And I don't believe you if you should stand idly by and say nothing if you're a Democrat or you're somebody who aspires for someone other than Trump to win. I think you should speak up.
So, since he meant that it, and it's so important to him, let's double down on the facts, right? because that's what we do here. Says Stephen A. wants to represent the brothers and speak for black folk. Well, let's hear what Mr. Black Folk should have to say when it comes to him making an apology. So not only did he make the statement, he doubled down on it. Then he came up here and made an apology in which he lied on. He lied. And he's such a hypocrite. Listen to what he says in the first couple of seconds.
Let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. Accountability is where everything needs to begin in this world. It's something I say quite often. I certainly never hesitate to hold folks accountable when mistakes or mishaps occur. So I'm certainly not about to run from it myself.
Look, he just said accountability. Accountability. And he's not about to run from it himself. That's exactly what he does right here in the apology. He runs from it. So if there was nothing wrong with what you said and that you were standing 10 toes down and you said you meant that why are you running from it now? What happened in the last couple of days that made you put on that tracksuit, go out there and apologize in the format in which you did? That wasn't apologetic. And nobody bought it.
I'm fully aware that I've been in the news over the last few days, paraded all over social media as well, after comments I made during my appearance on Fox News' Hannity last week with the one and only Sean Hannity himself. And I'm fully aware of the outcry that has ensued because of it. A lot of folks in Black America seem pretty pissed at me right now, from friends and loved ones to colleagues, contemporaries, and dare I say even the NAACP itself. Quite a few folks were put off, if not flat out offended, after my words were interpreted as associating support for Trump from the Black community with all the legal issues he's facing. For that, I sincerely apologize. To be clear, my words were misconstrued. I'm stating right here for the record that my words were taken out of context, misrepresenting and depicting me in a way I found every bit as insulting and disrespectful as folks in Black America evidently felt about what they thought I said. But I'll own it anyway. Because you
own it anyway. Why wouldn't you own it? You said out your own mouth, I meant that That was just the day before. Then the very next day, here you go. I'll own that. Now it's misconstrued. Now it's taken out of context. Which one is it? Did you mean that Or now you're going to come here and lie as you did in your book and everything else you've done in life? You see, here's the thing. Donald Trump, and I love to put this out there to the people because a lot of people don't seem to get it. Donald Trump is being investigated for things and the actions he's done after the election was over. He didn't have to get these charges. The majority of the cases that he's going through, Donald Trump created. Stephen A., did you tell the world that Donald Trump actually contacted the man in Georgia, right? Who's the governor? And told him to find him some votes. They got him on tape. That ain't a crime? That's not election tampering? To being threatened to find votes? Now, granted, some cases and charges that they were putting on Donald Trump with these old cases of harassment and all that, yes, that's the pile on. With all these women saying, oh, he did this to me back then, and they're going to take all his money and won't even listen to the appeal, and what New York is doing was just totally ridiculous to him. Yeah. But I've never seen you talk about Jonathan Majors and how the New York system did him. Never heard you speak about it, brother. Matter of fact, you're so adamant in defending Donald Trump, you never ever touch what the real issue of the cases are. His participation, his lawyer, Rudy, and all these guys' participation in what happened in the storming of the Capitol. See, you never touch on the issues, but you like to blame the Democrats for putting him in that microscope when Trump didn't have to do any of it. He done a lot of his charges, and everything he was charged for is because he didn't know how to accept the loss. And because he couldn't accept the loss, he took drastic measures to try to make sure the whole world knows and look like, hey, I didn't lose. So this man would do anything to win. That's a dangerous person to have in a White House seat. Now, you will say that with the brothers because you know it to be true, Stephen A. But you won't say it on Hannity. You won't say it to Clay Travis. So what good are you? What good are you to Black America? What good are you to America? And I'm sorry, I got to agree with D.L. Hewley here. You got to own it. You said it, you own it. Don't backpedal now because everybody's putting the heat on your ass. And it's the people that you deal with, the people that used to give you carte blanche. And now they're going to start showing you what real power is. Now you got to come around here and say you were sorry.
Than it does about him. Once you got convicted of somebody, I can't with you. I don't care who you are. When you make those kind of broad statements, what you're saying is, from my perspective, from my vantage point, these people think this. Who are you hanging around that thinks an old fraudulent is relatable to you? Who is in your sphere that you think that's okay? Don't be a pussy and tell me you didn't say it. You did. What insults me is when you say something and pretend like you didn't say it. We heard what you said. Then you said they taking me out of context. Show me what it is that you said that was different than I perceived you said.
Right.
You said it, right? You said that Black people relate to Donald Trump. How? If I know a Black dude who in his 70s, close to 80s, is still committing crime, I'm not hanging out with that nigga. It says more about what you think is relatable and what you perceive as relatable. It says more about you than it does about him. Once you got convicted of somebody, I can't with you. I don't care who you are. When you make those kind of broad statements, what you're saying is, from my perspective, from my vantage point, these people think this. Who are you hanging around that thinks an old fraudulent is relatable to you? Who is in your sphere that you think that's okay? Don't be a pussy and tell me you didn't say it. You did. What insults.
Now, that's DL checking Stephen A. Now, Stephen A has the right to have his own opinion, and you can vote for whoever you want, Stephen A. But this man has adamantly said he does not want to vote for Donald Trump, but yet advocates for Donald Trump. Make it make sense. I think Joe Biden is a horrible president. Never should have been in president. We don't have a great vice president either. We got a no-show job at vice president. That's where we at right now in this country. That's how I feel, period. Donald Trump was not a good leader and president. He's not a commander-in-chief. He's too emotional and reactionary. You can't have a person like that in the White House. Why are these the two top candidates to run the country? That's the problem. We need to find candidates that are viable to do the job. But instead, we got sideshow pieces. And they're going to collide going back and forth. One guy wants a war. One guy wants fame off of going to war. It's just it's a nightmare. Right? So you lose either which way. Nothing's going to get better now. Everything's been getting worse. Price of food has skyrocketed. Everything's at an all-time high, and people are pissed. But you voted for this. So don't get mad now because you ran out to the polls and you selected this man to be the president of the United States and saying, it's all we had. You could have got Bernie. Y'all didn't want Bernie. He's too old, but Biden is okay. I don't understand it. Look, people don't seem to understand. Stephen A. Smith has always been a guy who thinks for white America. This is a man who says, I wake up every day saying, how much money can I make my boss? And how much of it can I get for myself? I wake up every day thinking, how much money can I make my boss and how can I get a piece of it? He said that proudly as a motto so that other black people can have that type of sickness in their head to run out and think like a minion. You work 30-some years with that mentality for your boss. And when they pass away, you're left with nothing. You tied yourself to that person. Now somebody new come in, they don't even know you. Now you ostracized. And they leave you with nothing. All that butt kissing. And for what? The begging, the borrowing, and the bull. That's where we're stuck. And rather address the real problems in society, Stephen A. has been a weasel his entire career, his entire life. Trayvon Martin dies, and it's a black man shouldn't have wore a hoodie. I guess he just shouldn't be walking down the block that day. Do you know when Trayvon Martin's situation happened that there were old black folks who blamed Trayvon Martin's parents? Black folks. When he was killed by George Zimmerman, whatever, who's like a Latino and white. Do you know that there were old black women who blamed the parents of Trayvon Martin? And they said they felt sad because that kid shouldn't have died because their mother did not teach him, the mother and father did not teach him how to act around white folks. Old black people were saying that. They didn't tell him how to behave in those type of situations around white folks. You can't be screaming and yelling and all of these things at these white people. And that boy lost his life because of that. He was scared, he was nervous, and he was the one scared. He was the one nervous because he's being stalked by a white guy who's on the phone with the cops himself, thinking that this guy came from a robbery. So Trayvon Martin take off on foot. He want to chase him. The cops telling him, don't do that. No, stop. Are you chasing him? Don't do that. We got a car on the way. Don't do it. He wanted to be a hero. He declared himself neighborhood watch. And got to do no time for it. Travesty. Right? But hey, you got down a statue. They let you pull a statue down. They said, we'll let you take down the general statue. And then we'll say we can't put up the Confederate flag no more. So I guess the General Lee won't be making this appearance. I used to like the Dukes of Hazzard. Just like all the other black folks used to watch the Dukes of Hazzard. We never thought the Duke boys were bigoted. And Boss Hogg had no time for Negroes. That was just not it. It's not how we thought about the show. We just used to love that card of General Lee. That big old flag right on top of it. Because they made you focus and put all your hate and anger into a flag. When they made you get angry off a statue. Pull that statue down. Yeah, we got that flag down. But the laws that still back that flag is still up in a court of law. And a lot of your creative freedoms are at risk right now. See, what Joe Biden is signing, this contract to go after TikTok, it's not just going to be for TikTok. That's going to be for YouTube. That's going to be for Instagram, Facebook. They finna come in and corner this market to be able to control the information that's being distributed now. No more of this free speech. They're going to be, no, you can have free speech. Just watch what you say. It was so cool for Stephen A. Smith to come out and mention Joe Biden and try to say, well, Biden got crimes too. And then he brings up Hunter Biden. Then he brings up things that he's not even charged with. They haven't charged Joe Biden with anything. So what did you talk about? So it didn't even make any sense. Joe Biden is not even being charged, and yet you're mentioning his name. It's quite weird to me. When the question was about Trump and his cases, because he's actually going through a criminal trial, the president of the United States isn't. But let's pivot off of the president of the United States and talk about the person that's running and acting as if he's a victim who's being picked on when he's the one that created it. They're not letting Trump back in the White House. By hook or by crook, there are people that didn't like him in there at all. They don't want to go backwards. They want to go forward. And for them, this is the best way to do it. So that's all I wanted to do was point out this double talking idiot, Stephen A. Smith, and trying to act like he's pro-Democrat, but he also loved the Republicans and loves Sean Hannity and everybody else. We know you want to be a Fox correspondent. You want to come on Fox, go on CNN, go on MSNBC, talk to your own proteges that used to work with you at ESPN and everywhere else. Use your connections to try to grow in media. But podcasting is hard, ain't it? You starting to figure that out, ain't you? You and your team. Y'all looking mad goofy. Trying to figure it out. Man of accountability. You won't even apologize to Kwame Brown on the platform you disrespected him on. So keep eating olives and enjoy yourself. Shouts out to KB, Kwame Brown, Buzz Life, Ticket TV, Dreamers Pro. Well, see, they won't. Everybody's going to dance on eggshells because Stephen A., he got a relationship with a lot of these people. So they're going to keep their mouths shut. Now, if he wants you fired, he can get you fired. Well, before I leave, for those who left, sorry. I don't want to leave without playing Ryan Clark's statement. Listen to Ryan Clark give his thoughts.
Obviously, it's an election year. Stephen A. Smith, big bro, is sort of dabbling in politics now. He's mentioned he wanted to debate former President Donald Trump. And recently, he sort of came under fire for saying or agreeing with Donald Trump that Black people are starting to relate to him because they feel like he's being discriminated against by the criminal justice system, NAACP, and just all sorts of other people of our community felt some type of way about that. And he had a ton of backlash for it. And recently he apologized for it. He said he needed to take accountability, not necessarily for agreeing so much, but what agreeing and not clarifying his stance caused. When you think about the voice Stephen A. has, how do you feel about the fallout from what he said?
when you get a voice and you get a platform like we have, what do you really want to speak on? What do you want to be involved with? How, athletes talking about politics and different people talking about politics. And that's the thing. I have to navigate that as well. I would say, Stephen, you need to know that your voice means a lot to people. And whatever you say, you need to clarify it. Anything, if you're ESPN or if you're on any kind of TV station, there are people watching. I really do stay out of politics. But I did watch Donald Trump. I did watch why he's on trial for. I did watch that. So I would want everybody individually to navigate that and don't just say, oh, he's supporting him, he's supporting that. Listen to the information. I think a lot of people just jump on the side. And my thing is I listen to the information and see how I feel about the politics, how I feel about the candidates, see how I feel about that. But don't just say, oh, he said that, I'm with him, because you can line up with people in different situations, but you don't have to line up with everybody's opinion. So you got to get all the information, educate yourself, and see how you feel about that.
Now, that's key. And that's the way to do it. And that's the best way to do it. Have an individual thought, an individual mind. All these political agendas and people got to be careful because they got relationships. It's just sickening. You can't tell the truth. They can't respect you telling the truth. Then they ain't really your friend. They ain't really got your back. So we really out of here now. Don't forget to go to the Patreon too. We got the Drake and Future, the reason why they broke up, and the certain Illuminati cult that's going on right now. That's young creators and content creators are losing their lives over, all trying to make it and be famous. So go check that out. I'm out.